When a lonely billionaire stops at a traffic light on a rainy night, he never expects to see a barefoot homeless boy dancing in the storm, not for money, but for something deeper. What he doesn't know is that this boy's dance will soon bring life back to his paralyzed daughter's heart and uncover a painful secret he's hidden for years. This is a touching African emotional story about kindness, forgiveness, and how miracles can come from the most unexpected places. Broken Heart Sparkles. Watch till the end, the lesson will move you to tears. The rain poured like tears that evening, cold and heavy, drenching the lonely streets of Lagos. The city lights flickered through the mist, and the sound of thunder rolled far above, as though heaven itself was mourning something unseen. On a forgotten corner beside a burnt-out bakery, a young boy, barefoot, shivering, and drenched, danced. His name was Toby, barely 12, skin glistening with rain and sweat, his ribs showing through his thin shirt. Yet even in his hunger, his movements were graceful, like the rhythm was keeping him alive. His toes slapped the wet ground, splashing puddles as he spun, twisted, and leapt with wild energy. His eyes shone with something rare, hope. Across the street, inside a black-tinted SUV, a man watched. Chief Adewale Lawson, billionaire oil magnate, father, widower, and one of the most feared businessmen in Lagos. But this night, his face wasn't cold. He was curious. His driver had slowed down at the sight of the boy dancing in the rain. Chief Lawson's heart tightened as memories of laughter long gone filled his chest, his daughter Amara, his only child, before the accident. She used to dance like that. Before the wheelchair. Before her world fell silent. The billionaire rolled down the window slightly. The sound of the rain mingled with the faint hum of a broken speaker nearby. Somehow, the homeless boy had found a way to dance to a tune no one else could hear. People hurried past him, heads covered, eyes averted. Lagos doesn't stop for the broken. But this boy, he refused to stop for pain. Chief Lawson's eyes darkened. Why would a child dance in this storm? He told the driver to stop. The car halted. Through the mist, the boy noticed the vehicle. For a second, fear flickered in his eyes. Then he smiled, a small, trembling smile, and kept dancing. Somehow, that smile hit something deep inside the billionaire. The world had taught him to build walls, not bridges. But this boy, he was different. He danced as though he was trying to bargain with life itself. And then, something happened. As Toby spun, his foot slipped. He fell hard, his elbow scraping the ground. But instead of crying, he laughed, an honest, childish laugh that echoed through the wet night. That laugh, it sounded like Amara's once did. Chief Lawson stepped out of the car, the rain instantly soaking his designer suit. The driver gasped, confused. Billionaires didn't step into puddles. But tonight, none of that mattered. He walked closer, his polished shoes sinking into the mud. The boy froze, eyes wide, unsure if he was in trouble. The billionaire stopped right before him, towering, silent. He didn't speak. He just watched the boy breathe heavily, chest rising and falling. Inside, something stirred, a question that burned quietly: what if this boy could make Amara smile again? Because ever since the accident, she hadn't. In that moment, the billionaire didn't see a homeless child. He saw a chance. Not for charity. Not for pity. But for healing. He turned to his driver and said quietly, "Bring him." And that night, as the city slept, a forgotten street dancer's destiny began to shift. No one knew that the boy dancing in the rain would soon walk into a mansion filled with pain, and light it up in ways no doctor ever could. But behind that miracle to be, secrets waited, dark, painful truths that neither the billionaire nor the boy was ready to face. Because sometimes, the one sent to heal, carries wounds even deeper than the one being healed. And this was just the beginning. Moral: sometimes, the most broken souls carry the light that can heal others. Never look down on the ones the world has forgotten, they may carry the miracle you're praying for. The car moved slowly through the silent streets, headlights cutting through the misty darkness. Toby sat in the back seat, trembling, not from cold this time, but from fear. He had never been inside a car this grand. The leather smelled of wealth and distance. Every time he blinked, he expected to wake up and find himself back under the broken bridge he called home. He hugged his knees tightly. The billionaire, Chief Adewale Lawson, sat beside him, silent as stone. Only the faint ticking of the car's dashboard clock broke the stillness. Outside, Lagos sparkled faintly under the drizzle, an ocean of lights, dreams, and lies. Chief Lawson's eyes occasionally flicked toward the boy. His mind was torn. Was he being foolish? Bringing a stranger home, a homeless boy, into his world of polished floors and hushed halls. Yet something inside him refused to turn back. Maybe desperation makes men do strange things. Maybe love for a daughter makes a billionaire forget logic. After 30 minutes, the car turned into a wide estate road, guarded by tall palm trees and golden lamps. The gates opened automatically, revealing a mansion that looked like it could touch the clouds. Toby's mouth fell open. The house shone like a dream, its glass walls reflecting the wet glow of the night. He had never seen anything like it. When the car stopped, 2 guards rushed forward. They looked at the boy, confused, suspicious. One whispered, "Oga, who be this small boy?" But Chief Lawson only said, "He's with me." And just like that, the mansion swallowed the street boy into its glittering belly. Inside, warmth hit him like a wave. The marble floors gleamed. Expensive art hung on every wall. A chandelier sparkled like captured stars. But Toby's eyes didn't care about the gold. He noticed the silence. A heavy, empty silence that no amount of money could hide. From upstairs, the faint hum of a wheelchair echoed. Slowly, it came into view. A young girl, no older than Toby, rolled into the room. She wore a soft pink gown and had big, sad eyes that once knew laughter. Amara. Her father's entire world. She looked at the stranger boy with curiosity, maybe even fear. He looked at her the same way. One had everything yet felt broken. The other had nothing but carried light in his eyes. Chief Lawson knelt beside his daughter's wheelchair. His voice softened, a tone only she ever heard. "Amara, this is Toby. I met him dancing tonight." The girl blinked. Dancing? The word came out like a question, half forgotten. Toby stood frozen, unsure if he was meant to bow or run. His heart pounded so loud it felt like thunder in his chest. He could barely speak, so he just nodded shyly. Amara's eyes lingered on his torn shirt and muddy feet. But something about his face, the raw innocence, made her stare a little longer. Her lips twitched, almost forming a smile, before she looked away. That night, as the mansion slept, the billionaire couldn't rest. He stood by his daughter's door, listening to her quiet breathing. Then he walked to his study and poured himself a drink he didn't touch. His mind raced. Could this boy, somehow bring life back into her world? Meanwhile, in the small guest room prepared for him, Toby couldn't sleep either. The bed was too soft, the room too bright, the air too clean. He stared at the ceiling, whispering to himself, "God, why me?" Outside his window, the rain had stopped. A single star blinked faintly through the clouds. Somewhere deep down, Toby felt something shift. As if destiny itself had just taken a deep breath. He didn't know yet that the days ahead would test his heart, his courage, and his soul. That behind every polished smile in that mansion lay secrets darker than the night that found him. And soon, his dancing would no longer be for coins, but for something much bigger. Moral: sometimes, the greatest changes in life begin quietly, with a small act of kindness and a single step into the unknown. The next morning came softly, with sunlight sneaking through the tall windows of the Lawson mansion. Birds sang outside, the kind of gentle melody that belongs only to peaceful places. But for Toby, peace was strange. He woke up in confusion, his body stiff from sleeping like a soldier ready to run. The sheets were clean, the room smelled of lavender, and for a moment, he thought he had died and gone to heaven. He sat up quickly, blinking at the golden curtains. Where am I again?" he whispered. Then it hit him, the billionaire, the mansion, the daughter in the wheelchair. It wasn't a dream. He really was here. He stood by the window, staring at the vast garden below. There were roses, fountains, and a swing that looked like it hadn't been used in years. He thought of his bridge back in the slums, of sleeping on concrete and waking up to the smell of gutters. The contrast made his eyes sting. Then, a soft knock came at the door. A middle-aged woman entered, her head tied neatly in a wrapper. "Good morning, small boy. Olga say you should come downstairs. Madam Chef don't prepare breakfast." Toby nodded quickly. "Yes, Ma." He didn't even know what to do with his hands, so he just clasped them together awkwardly. Downstairs, the dining table stretched like a road, full of shining silver plates, steaming dishes, and glasses that sparkled in the light. Chief Lawson was already seated, dressed sharply as usual. Amara sat quietly beside him, her wheelchair pulled close to the table. When Toby entered, he froze again. Everything felt too fine for someone like him. He wanted to run back outside. But Chief Lawson simply gestured to an empty chair. "Sit. Eat." Toby obeyed, his eyes darting everywhere. The spoon felt heavy in his hand. He tried to act normal, but his hunger betrayed him. Each bite was fast, desperate, like someone afraid the food might disappear. Amara noticed. She tried not to stare, but something about him fascinated her, the way he ate, the quiet gratitude in his eyes, the childlike wonder. Her father watched her watching him. A faint spark crossed his heart. It was the first time in months he had seen curiosity in her face. After breakfast, Chief Lawson cleared his throat. "Toby," he said slowly, "you danced last night. You remember?" Toby nodded shyly. "Would you dance again?" The boy's heart stopped. "Here, sir." "Yes," the billionaire replied. "For Amara." The girl's eyes widened. "Daddy," she whispered softly, unsure if she wanted it. But Toby didn't hesitate. Something inside him felt called again, like that rhythm that never left his bones. He stood up, barefoot on the marble floor, and began to move. At first, he was stiff. The house was too quiet, too grand. But then his body remembered. His hands flowed, his feet tapped softly, his shoulders bent with emotion. He danced like the world was listening. And then, something unbelievable happened. Amara smiled. Not a forced smile. A real one. The first in over a year. It came slowly, shyly, then bloomed fully as Toby spun and landed with a tiny bow. Chief Lawson's chest tightened. He didn't move. He didn't even breathe. He just watched his daughter's face, alive again, glowing with joy. When the boy stopped, silence filled the room. Amara clapped softly, a sound that carried more healing than any medicine. That night, as the house settled into quiet again, Chief Lawson stood by Amara's door. He saw her holding her doll and whispering something, a smile still on her lips. He walked away, his eyes wet. And in his heart, he knew, something had begun. Something no doctor, no therapy, no amount of wealth could have done. But fate is never kind for long. In the days to come, hidden truths would rise. The boy's paw. The reason behind Amara's accident, and the strange connection between the two would begin to unravel. And when it does, love, guilt, and destiny would collide in ways no one could have imagined. Moral: true joy doesn't come from riches or comfort, it comes from the power to touch another heart, even in your brokenness. Days turned into weeks, and something beautiful began to grow inside the Lawson mansion, something no one had expected. Laughter. It started small, like the timid sunrise after a long storm. Every morning, Amara waited quietly by her window, listening for the sound of Toby's footsteps. He would always come running, barefoot and cheerful, his face shining with the kind of joy that only the poor understand, the joy of being needed. He danced for her. Sometimes he told funny stories about the streets, about the goats that chased him near the market, about how he used to sleep beside a woman who sold puff puff and shouted in her dreams. Amara would laugh until tears ran down her cheeks. Her father watched from the hallway, unseen, his heart heavy with something between happiness and guilt. It had been so long since his daughter had laughed that he almost forgot what it sounded like. But not everyone in the mansion was pleased. The head housekeeper, Madame Beezy, didn't trust Toby. She often muttered, "Olga, you don't know where that boy came from. These street children, they carry bad luck." Chief Lawson would only say, "That boy has brought more light to this house than anyone else." Yet even he couldn't shake the strange unease that lingered deep inside him. Because there was something familiar about Toby, his face, his eyes, even the way he tilted his head when thinking. Something that tugged at an old memory he couldn't quite reach. One afternoon, Amara asked Toby to take her outside. The air was fresh, and the garden was filled with flowers dancing in the breeze. He pushed her wheelchair gently, careful with every bump. "Do you ever miss your family?" she asked suddenly. He froze. The question hit like thunder. I don't remember them," he whispered. "My mama died when I was small. My papa. I never saw him. They said he worked for one rich man before he disappeared." Amara turned her head, watching him closely. "Disappeared?" He nodded. "Some people say he was accused of stealing something. He went to beg the rich man, but he never came back." Silence followed. Even the wind seemed to stop. Chief Lawson, who had been watching from the balcony, stiffened. Something in his chest twisted sharply. A man, accused of stealing. He had dealt with so many workers over the years. So many faces, so many stories buried under paperwork. Could it be? But before he could think further, Amara laughed softly. "You talk too serious sometimes, Toby. Let's play music." He smiled, though the sadness never left his eyes. As the music started, he began to dance again, right there in the garden. Amara clapped and cheered, her laughter echoing against the mansion walls. For a brief moment, everything felt right, two broken souls painting joy where pain once lived. But deep inside, destiny was moving quietly. That night, while the house slept, Chief Lawson went to his study. He opened an old file cabinet, dusted and forgotten. He began searching, past employee records, years old. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. And then he stopped. A face. A name. Samuel Adeyemi. A man dismissed years ago for theft, a man who had begged for mercy, a man who looked too much like the boy sleeping under his roof. The file slipped from his hand. His heart pounded. "God," he whispered. "What have I done?" Because suddenly, he remembered. The man had sworn he was innocent before security dragged him out. Days later, the man's wife had fallen ill, and the report said she died soon after. A baby, yes, there had been a baby, vanished after that. And now, that baby was in his house, smiling at his daughter. The billionaire sank into his chair, his face buried in his hands. He had spent his life building empires, signing deals, collecting wealth, but now, the ghosts of his past were back, dancing right before his eyes. Moral: the seeds we plant in the past, good or bad, never die, they only wait for the right season to grow. For days, Chief Adewale Lawson barely slept. His heart was a battlefield of guilt and confusion. Every time he saw Toby laughing with Amara, a heavy truth pressed harder on his chest. Could it be that this boy, the one who had brought joy back into his broken home, was the son of a man whose life he had destroyed? He began digging quietly. He sent his driver, his lawyer, even his old assistant to trace every record from that year, the dismissal, the accusations, the child that went missing. And one afternoon, the result came back. The report was brief but enough to break a man's heart. The child of late Samuel Adeyemi was never found. DNA analysis between Toby Adeyemi and Chief Adewale Lawson confirms 99.8% match, father's former employee. The paper trembled in his hand. His knees weakened. A sound escaped his lips, not quite a sob, not quite a prayer. He had ruined a man's life over a lie. And now, fate had brought the orphaned son to his door, not for revenge, but to heal the very daughter who had become his reason for living. That evening, the mansion was quiet. The golden light of sunset streamed through the glass walls, painting everything in soft amber. Toby was in the garden again, teaching Amara how to move her hands to a song's rhythm. She couldn't walk, but she could still feel the beat. Her laughter filled the air, warm and free. Chief Lawson stood at a distance, tears quietly streaming down his face. He wanted to run to the boy, to fall on his knees and confess everything, to tell him the truth about the father he never knew. But how do you tell a child that you are the reason he grew up hungry and alone? As he stood there lost in his thoughts, Amara noticed him. "Daddy, come dance with us," she shouted, her smile radiant. He hesitated. Then slowly, he walked toward them. For the first time in years, Chief Adewale Lawson, the man known for power and pride, took off his shoes. He joined them, awkward at first, but soon his movements softened. Toby laughed, guiding him playfully, while Amara clapped her hands. Three souls, one broken by guilt, one healed by love, and one reborn by joy, danced together under the fading light. Then, as the moment slowed, Chief Lawson looked at Toby with wet eyes and whispered, "Forgive me, my son." The boy blinked, confused. "Sir." The billionaire swallowed hard. "You'll understand one day," he said softly, brushing the boy's head gently before walking back toward the house. That night, he sat in his study and wrote 2 letters. One for his daughter, explaining everything, the truth, the guilt, the lesson. Another for Toby, telling him who his father was, what really happened, and how much he owed him an apology the world could never repay. When dawn came, the sun rose bright and golden. Chief Lawson was found in his study, head resting on the letters, peaceful. His heart had given out, but his face wore the faintest smile, a man finally freed from the weight of his past. Toby and Amara cried that morning, their hearts shattered yet full of strange peace. When the letters were read, silence filled the mansion. Toby didn't hate him. Instead, he placed a single rose on the man's grave and whispered, "You gave me a home, even after everything. I forgive you." Years later, Amara regained partial strength in her legs. She learned to walk again, slowly, painfully, but always with Toby beside her, cheering with the same hope that once made him dance in the rain. They turned the mansion into a center for homeless children, the Lawson Foundation for Hope, where every child who entered was treated with dignity, warmth, and love. And sometimes, when the rain came and the thunder rolled, Amara would stand by the window and smile, remembering the boy who once danced in the storm, and how that single dance healed 2 broken worlds. Moral: no act of kindness is ever wasted. The pain we cause can be forgiven, the wounds we carry can be healed, and the broken pieces of our lives can still create something beautiful. In the end, love is the only wealth that truly lasts. Please don't forget to tell us in the comments section where you are watching from. Thanks for watching.